Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Kibler, Director of Client Profitability for eTruckBiz. Our attendee list is climbing and climbing fast. So we're going to give it a couple more minutes till it levels off before we get going. So everybody please sit tight and we will be with you shortly. Thank you very much. All righty. Just after the top of the hour, it looks like our attendee list has leveled off. Once again, this is Ken Kibler, the Director of Client Profitability for eTruckBiz. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Looks like we've got a big group today, and we'll go through some of our normal stuff today with the volume and some of the productivity numbers, and then just going to get into some recent releases by FedEx and announcements by FedEx as well as what that's going to mean with the competition and to the CSPs on this call. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or the Q&A so we can address those at the end. And thank you for being here. And without further ado, Mr. Jeff Walczak.
All right. As we always have to do, we want to tell you that eTruckBiz is not endorsed, sponsored, approved, or otherwise affiliated with FedEx Ground. For now, it's FedEx Ground, but it won't be soon. Stand by, technical. So what we usually do each week is we try to look at what's happening to the volume. This week, of course, the volume, there's no other way to say it. It's flat. Flat's better than going down, that's for sure. But if you look at the pickup side of things, right on the trend line, package is a little bit above trend line, but flat. And then take a guess about what's going on the delivery side. Yeah, that's right. You guessed right. It's flat too. It's coming in right around the trend line. Same thing with packages. So I'm sure most of you know that's pretty much the case. Volume is staying steady. But there's some good news. We want some good news. The good news is that our stops per dispatch, they hit the skids at the beginning of March. Things were bad. February, March, oh boy, we were going the wrong way. But I'm sure it's everybody who attends our Tuesday webinars that got the message that we got to watch our stops per dispatch. It's real important that we make sure we're watching how many stops we're putting on each truck. Why? Because that's our revenue. It's our revenue and cost measurement there. That's why we're here. That's the game. We're gonna make sure that stays healthy. And there we go, back up above the trend line. That's a good job. That's a good job for everybody in here.
That can be tough as the volume fluctuates and everything else. So I want to congratulate everybody who's taken part in that, because it's not easy, but it's essential, as Jeff said, because you cannot drive profitability without driving revenue per dispatch. So great job.
Yeah, that is. That's everything, actually. So that was the good news, but there's some bad news out there. UPS is replacing FedEx as the post office's plane ride of choice, says this particular article. The deal marks a significant shift in FedEx's 23-year relationship with the Postal Service. 23 years, right? Now, those of you that were around that may have listened to the earnings call a couple of weeks ago, somebody got on there and said, everything's great. Don't worry about it. Post office deal's looking good. It's going to be a good thing. Everything was great. After months of negotiations to renew its contract as primary air carrier for the Postal Service, FedEx announced that this will be the last year doing so. UPS will be stepping in to provide the service instead. FedEx and the post office had until September to work out a new deal, but the two parties have called it quits early. As recently as a couple of weeks ago, FedEx Chief Customer Officer Bree, I don't know her last name, Bree Carey, was telling analysts on its earnings call that the company was feeling very positive about the negotiations, but it looks like the feeling was fleeting. FedEx and the Postal Service have had a long and productive relationship for more than 20 years, FedEx said in a statement. Over time, our respective strategies have shifted as we transform our networks and operations for the future. The sticking point that was that Reuters says there was the post office's shift from moving lots of packages through the air to doing more transportation on the ground to match Amazon-style shift towards moving distribution centers nearer to metro areas and large customer bases. FedEx had been trying to figure out a way to serve fewer postal service markets while it maintained its primary carrier status. So who knows? Was that it? Who knows? The loss of the UPS, the Postal Service contract, will likely weigh heavily on FedEx, which noted in its strategic risk section of its most recent annual report that the post office is the largest customer for its FedEx Express segment. Though less profitable than ground, freight and services divisions, Express still brought in nearly half of the company's $90 billion in revenue last year. So this was an Express customer, not a ground anything. Right? All right. Well, here's the deal with this announcement. That's a lot of revenue to give up. A lot. When we say a lot, it means a lot. Billions of dollars. The thing here is the shareholders are going to lose their patience because they were told during the shareholder call that the contract was safe or everything was great or we look forward to getting it done or whatever they said. They made it sound like, yeah, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. The contract's going to be great. They don't want to, the shareholders don't want to be told that their profits and then of course the dividend payments are going to suffer because they lost a 23-year-old contract. So it doesn't mean too much for the ground side of things, but it's a big deal. A very big deal. And that, oh, well, looks like something's already happened. So from a little bit ago, looks like the stock is down. It was darn near 300. Actually, I think it broke 300 at one point, but now it's down the 275. So here's the deal on this. The street doesn't like that, and they shouldn't. But fortunately for the year, things are okay. But if you're a shareholder, I mean, you're happy about the 23, up 23, but you were up damn near 50. So The shareholders aren't gonna like this, right? Now, what this is gonna likely do is it's gonna put pressure on getting network 2.0 going. So you think about this, okay, they lost a bunch of revenue. Shareholders still want their money, and they were promised lots of money because they're going to save billions of dollars, $2, $4, $6, $7 billion, whatever. Great. But now it looks like they're really going to have to put their foot down I don't think we don't think they anticipated not renewing the Postal Service contract. What it really does is they're going to really need to get 2.0 going. Right. So speaking of Network 2.0, and if you come to our webinars every Tuesday, we talk about it all the time. Did everybody get to see this? This is the new Network 2.0 map. Now, I know a lot of contractors may or may not look at this. But this is actually a very big deal here. So the question is why? Well, like I said, most people say, well, that's not that big deal, right? Not a big deal. Well, no, it is a big deal. And the reason is many of the new division, region, and district lines cut across existing, I didn't put ground in here, but existing ground terminal, at least service areas. Now, in a lot of the other network maps, they kind of just cordon everything off according to terminal and without necessarily respect to terminal service areas. But this is way different. Here's the deal. So if you look at, let's just look a little closer at this part of this map. The yellow area there, we happen to know that is the Huntsville, Alabama terminal service area as it stands today, but it's missing a little bit of Tennessee that's in there, but whatever. But if you look at this map, look at those lines. There is over on the left or the west side of Alabama, there's a district line all of a sudden that finds its way over to Cherokee, Alabama, if you guys know where that is. And then there's a region line that goes smack dab through the middle of the terminal service area. Now, it's not just that, it's not just the Huntsville terminal, but really start looking at this map. Look at the new, let's just say Atlanta district, Atlanta, North Atlanta and South Atlanta. Those are way different. You can go all over this map and see a whole bunch of lines that are starting to go through people's areas and whatnot. Right? Did you see anything there, Ken, that bothers you?
Yeah, it's kind of the South Atlanta district looks like it's going into into South Carolina, which I found interesting there. And the other thing that really stood out is Florida has 3 districts alone. That was shocking, and of course, I think there's a lot going on in the Houston metro, East Texas, and the golf course there. And I think there'll be a lot going on there. Those were some of the surprise ones.
So still, a lot of folks would be saying, well, still with no big deal, that doesn't affect me. Well, you'll want to understand the implications of what this map could be. It's very likely that this map represents that terminal service areas are about to change for the whole terminal. Think about that, right? It's likely going to impact most every CSP one way or another, not necessarily line haul. So if you're a line haul person on here and want to know if it's going to affect you, no, probably not. But if you're a P&D contractor, you're probably looking at direct or indirect implications here. shifting service areas between existing ground and express terminals. That's what that map represents. So think about this. You've got, in a lot of places, two different terminals that service the same or even different terminal service areas. So that's the first thing that's going to happen here. You got to, let me keep going. That's a big deal. What that means is, yep, some terminals are going to close. Which ones? We don't know. Some terminals are going to consolidate. Pretty much for sure, there's going to be a lot of redefinitions of current CSAs. Now that needs to concern all of you on here. Right? Are we telling you every single one of them is going to change and going to change negatively? No, we're not telling you that. There's going to be some CSAs that stay the same, but they'll probably be the exception rather than the rule. In some places, they may add CSAs. And if you were with us, I think it was last weekend, we talked about all the different things that could happen to individual contractors, but this is why, because this map is changing, right? And then some CSAs may get eliminated altogether. But we'll see. There's a lot of things about to happen here. Keep in mind that this is all about saving money. Where's the money going to come from to replace that $2 billion contract they just lost with the Postal Service? It's got to come from someplace. Right? So we're going to take questions about that afterwards, after we're done here in a little bit. But there's one more thing we want to make sure that we get to, because there's another issue has come up. It's not necessarily related to the terminals closing and whatnot, but it's another big problem, and there's something that we want to let you know that we're seeing something here. So as many of you know, we help lots of CSPs, hundreds of them a year, negotiate their contracts. You know, what I tried to say is we're seeing a very disturbing trend right now with these negotiations. A lot of folks are coming to us to make some sense out of what's going on with their businesses and how to fix their money issues. Well, we're tracing them back. We're tracing a lot of these things back to people picking MESO offers, right? Well, we'll get to why here in a second, but we're finding out when somebody comes to us and says, hey, I just can't make money, I'm having a hard time. And yeah, there's a lot of different reasons, but one of the first things we look at, of course, is, well, what happened with your last negotiation? A lot of people are picking the MESO without analyzing to see if the MESO that they're picking is the most optimal choice for their area. This is a very big deal. And it's costing CSPs tens of thousands of dollars. And we're going to show you here in a second, right? But why are they doing this? Why would somebody just pick a MESO? I was going to pick a MESO. Here's the issue, folks. There's a lot of contractor CSPs out there that think the MESOs are all the same. They're absolutely not the same. Easy button thing to do is to just, I just pick a MESO. Why? Well, I don't know, because they have some reason or whatever. No. We're going to show you here in a second why they're not the same. A lot of folks, for whatever reason, they think they can do their negotiation themselves. Well, it doesn't matter. They're just going to pay me what they want to pay me anyway, so it doesn't matter. It does matter. We want to show you here in a second why if you do nothing else, you should get some help with your negotiation. Okay. A lot of folks are leaving lots of money on the table by just picking a particular MESO. They are not the same, and we're going to show you here in a second, right? So we have a new page up there. If you want to play around with what you're going to see here in a second, you can go to eTruckBiz.com/negotiations. We're going to try to show you something here. Let's see if I can figure out how to do it. So here we
Why,
are.
why these are important is because there's going to be more and more of them as terminals relocate, CSAs relocate, change. Things are going to change with your CSA, and that's going to drive a negotiation. So you want to be prepared for that, and you want to get the best negotiation and maximize what's best. The key areas that for what is best for your for your CSA and or your new CSA, whatever it may be. Sorry, Jeff.
That's okay. And Ken's right. There's actually, and I don't want to get crazy with this, but there might be a new way of doing this later. We'll see. But anyway, if you look at this is a typical, or let me try to show you something here. This example in here, if you ever looked at your assumptions, usually the negotiator will give you a bunch of assumptions about your area. So they're in here, then they'll give you the offers, and you look at the offers, and when they present the offers, you're going to see that it looks like, look, if I take one, I get this amount. If I take number two, I get this amount. If I take three, they make them look like this to begin with, so that you think there's no difference in, right? Well, it doesn't matter. I'll just take the one that has the most. Or maybe worse, folks start telling each other, well, MESO 1 is at the most fixed, or MESO 3 has the most variable, or vice versa, or this one I always take 2 because it doesn't really matter. No, 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 no. You got to look at these. Now, here's the thing about this. First of all, the assumptions are, everybody's CSA has a different set of characteristics, right? This one happens to have this. Okay, good. The other thing is the offers are all different based on who knows whatever calculus they put into their spreadsheet that day. The offers wind up being different. So the thing is, well, I'm going to show you something here in a second. These change based on all of this. They're not the same. So here we go. So based on the assumptions and the offers that I just tried to show you, let's, for fun, say that we had a 4% increase in non-e-commerce stops, and for fun, a 4% increase in e-commerce, or I'm sorry, packages. We'll go 4% packages. Now, does it happen like that? Who knows? But let's just for fun say that. Well, now look at these offers. They're different, right? Well, does it just happen just like that? Maybe, yes, no. Maybe we get a 6% increase in stops. Maybe we get a 6% packages. Let's say some more packages happen here and whatever. Now look at this. Now you're starting to see a little bit of difference in the amounts that they go up over the current contract, right? You know, the more that happens, the more pronounced it is. So if you go to this page, you can play around with this, but this doesn't, I got to stress this, this doesn't mean this is exactly what's going to happen for your particular CSA. Again, the assumptions and the offers are different, which skews these things. But in this case, if I took one for some reason or whatever, I just cost myself darn near $10,000. It's for fun, see if this goes up. This would have cost me $11,000. Now, do you have this big of an increase and whatnot? You might. Sometimes they go the other way. You can also play around and see what happens if they go down, but this is not going to happen. Folks, the people that remain through Network 2.0, you're going to see huge increases in stops and packages and whatnot. The importance, I mean, we've seen, Ken, you tell me, the folks are already seeing 20 to 25% increases in stops and packages.
I mean, I can look at an optics app and I can see people who took on express stops on October 30th. Well, the express stops are making up 20 to 24% of their volume. So it is significant, and it did affect the contract of several of the contractors because they were handling these stops and the assumptions were completely different, or their actual was completely different than the assumptions. So it's important that you know those factors. You have the historical data when you are making your decision, because it said I looked at a $2.5 million contract, and the guy was going to take MESO 1 because he said the volume's going to decrease. But his assumptions were not in line with what his actual volume was. It was going to cost him $90,000 if he took MESO 1 compared to MESO 3. $90,000. That's real money. So,
yeah. And just here, I mean, now this is pretty steep, but if you get some express, you'll blow this away. Believe this is darn near 20 grand between 1 and 2. $20,000. People, oh, I can't make any money. Why? Why do you have MESO 1? Well, I thought it was the right thing to do at the time. Okay, did you get anybody? Did we help you analyze it? Did you get Miss Carey to help you figure out what might make the most sense? Well, no, I didn't think I needed to. Okay, well, there goes $20,000. Guess who has that $20,000 now? Not you. FedEx does. Right? That's what they otherwise would have paid you. So, I mean, when you start looking at this for fun, we'll bring this down for fun, whatever, 8, okay, great, whatever. Down here, this tells you if your negotiation costs you $800 and let's say you maximize your area and you do $12,000 better, $13,000 better. Whoa, that's a 1,400% return on that investment. If the $800 is the investment, I think we could probably get by with 1,400% return on investment there, Ken. So the point here is we want to make sure, especially as you go through what's about to happen here in the next several months, if you're involved in a negotiation at this time, we always say don't do it by yourself. Don't do it by yourself now. It just doesn't make any sense. Yes.
Can I just add something to this?
Yes.
Even for those who aren't receiving express volume today or around the corner, it's very, very important to stress that FedEx, the negotiators will tell you, we gave you 3 MESO offers. They all have the same gross revenue. Just pick one. You're not going to get any more money in the bottom line if you negotiate. Well, that is 100% untrue, okay? The first thing you have to do is FedEx in their assumption data, the assumptions are supposed to be 52 weeks of historical data. They tell you it's proprietary. They will not tell you what weeks they use to come up with those stop and package numbers. They never match my settlement data, which to me is, the real data. That's what you got paid for, right? The other thing they do is they include these false revenue growth percentages in their revenue. So I pull those out. So you can see what the offers really are at 0 growth percentage that FedEx puts in there. And you can see when you pull those percentages out that the offers right away aren't the same, okay? They tell you the revenue is, but if you pull the growth percentages out, they are not the same. The other thing is, in order to pick a MESO, you have to know not only what your historical stop and package data is, what you were doing this past year, like FedEx used, you also have to look at what you're doing now and what you're going to do over the term of this contract. Things change on a dime, and you know that. So what we do, you know, for $800 is we dive into your data, we dive into the settlement, and we create several reports that we are very confident when giving you the results of our reports that put it in front of your face. You know, it truly tells you if you do want to pick a MESO, maybe your upfront advanced service fee is $30,000. So, you know, that's a good chunk of change, and you may not want to work that into a negotiation. So I respect that, but I can tell you definitively which one of these MESOs is going to best suit your operation. And it's, you know, just because you picked a more fixed or MESO one last year does not determine what you should do this upcoming year. So, you know, again, I can't reiterate how important it is to really analyze your business and educate yourself when choosing a MESO or going into a negotiation. And I can also tell you that over the past almost a year now, the contracts that have decided to negotiate, 99% of them come out even better, you know, and some of them significantly better than what a MESO offer would have done for them. Not only pushing the bottom line gross revenue, but also rearranging the elements of the contract to best suit your company. You know, no two CSAs are the same, and we really pride ourselves in how long we've been doing this, and we take each CSA individually and rearrange the contract to best meet your needs and what's going to maximize your revenue, not, you know, fit everybody in the same box type of thing. So I just wanted to reiterate some of that and maybe explain a little better. Thanks, Jeff.
I thank you. And the folks that you've helped before, I would say the vast majority of them would want to say the same thing. Thanks to Miss Carey for helping them, for sure. So at least that's it for now as far as that goes. We're just, like I said, we're seeing this where people have taken MESOs and it's like, oh no, did you look? Anyways, okay. Ken, why don't you take some questions?
I'm sorry. The first one came in as saying, says, are you seeing those doing express, the stops being paid the same as the e-commerce rate and the regular stops? Yes, they are. They come in at your e-commerce rates, your non-e-commerce rates. And then if you achieve the 98.5 for your AM volume, which means your 10:30 AMs and your noons, you get a bonus 2 weeks down the road. And it's on a per stop basis. It's different for every CSA in a building. I'd like to say they make sense, but they don't all the time. But at the same time, some of them are very significant, and I've seen contractors make a lot of money extra on with that. So in a sense, you're getting paid the same, but if you achieve the service level, you will get more money. Okay. The express rates are negotiated. No. FedEx tells you what they're going to pay you for the express stops in the AM service areas for your CSA. So that's how that works. Okay. Now to the question, what is the source for your numbers? Meaning delivery count, stops. I think there are stats, Jeff, for where we're pulling that data from our customers, correct?
Well, if that means for this calculator, are you talking about the calculator thing?
I
If,
thought he might mean for the weekly volume of pickups, stops, because it came across pretty early.
for the, yeah, that's, those are our customers. So if you're a client of eTruckBiz, we get some, metadata or some macro numbers and we look at our customers. That's not everything.
Right.
But
C
it's a significant sample size. It's pretty darn close.
So what the way our customers are trending is what the company is trending. I can tell you that. The CEO of UPS expects deliveries to pick up in the second half of 2024 and the continuing growth of 2025, 2026. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm not an economist.
So do I. So does everybody. If you're the CEO, you're going to say, "Oh, wait a minute." I mean, sometimes they do, and usually it's like, "Oh, well, our earnings come out in like 4 weeks. We better tell you early that maybe we didn't hit our forecasted numbers." That way, they don't do it at the end of the quarter or something like that. They expect deliveries to pick up in second. I don't know. I don't think that I don't. We can argue about this all day. The macroeconomic landscape's not necessarily looking that good right now. That's the best I can tell you about that. But I will tell you that, yeah, small package, UPS, FedEx, anything else, that is a very good barometer of the economy. It is.
So, does it make sense to choose a MESO offer, more fixed option versus volume option, or should you always negotiate an agreement? Carrie, you want that one?
Oh,
I
Well,
got it.
I'm sorry, I was talking
All right.
with
Says,
my
yeah, does it make sense to choose a MESO offer, more fixed option, or volume option, or should you always negotiate a custom agreement?
each CSA is different and each year is different. So there is no blanket answer to that. As far as whether you should choose a MESO or negotiate, when we do our analysis, we can tell you, hey, it's not worth negotiating, you should take X. I can't give you a blanket answer for this one as far as, what you should do, but, I always love to negotiate, and even sometimes if I don't think that we will be able to, let's say, push the bottom line revenue, it may help just to rearrange some of the elements of the contract. We've been seeing different anomalies happen to these offers that I go in there and say, hey, you deliver 2.5 packages per stop average, and it may be in our best interest to move some money that's in your fuel surcharge to your package charge, thus allowing you to maximize that potential of your package charge, which you're going to get every time you deliver a package, and not rely on the volatility of the fuel surcharge that changes monthly. So, it's different things like that. I can say that I always love to negotiate, but as far as a blanket answer, every CSA is different. Every contractor has different reasons whether they want to negotiate or not. So all we can do is give you our opinion and hope that you'll follow our advice, whether it be to negotiate or choose a certain MESO.
Yeah, absolutely agree with what Carrie's saying there. Every situation's different. There is no blanket rule, which tells me I'm going to spend $800 and I'm going to get the best advice from the best resources that I can get out there. So, does the
she's, wait a minute,
USP
she's selling herself short. I would let Carrie go after him, to be quite honest with it. She does very damn good at that.
I concur with that as well. So does USPS and UPS contract have a direct impact to the USPS Smart Post packages we currently service through ground? You want that one, Jeff?
No, yeah, that contract had to do with providing airlift to the post offices. So if there's room on a FedEx plane, they would put Postal Service Express Airmail or whatever you want to call it on express planes. That's what it had to do. It didn't have anything to do with Smart Post or anything like that. As far as they said, I mean, if there's something in there that has to do with that, they didn't say that during the, you guys, if you want, you can go look at the earnings interview and call after earnings a couple of weeks ago. They didn't say anything about Smart Post or anything. So I gotta assume it's separate.
Okay, next one. When a terminal transitions / integrates express into ground, is there much of an impact to the HD stops or more targeted towards business volumes? It varies kind of by day of the week. I will say that. I'm looking at one contractor data right now. I'm doing a little bit of math here. And basically 100, it's about 60% of their deliveries are afternoon deliveries. With on the breakdown here, there's 50 10:30s, 25 noons. Those are more than likely all businesses. I would probably say, whatever your normal mix is, might be about 80 to 85% businesses. Then in the afternoon, they've got 47 by 5 o'clock. Chances are businesses, 71 by 8 p.m. So you still have a significant amount of home delivery, day definite stops in there. So I would say a pretty good mix of HD, but what we have noticed, the packages tend to be smaller, which is great because that increases the capacity on your trucks. Most people will say that the limiting factor on their trucks isn't the number of stops that they can, it's how many packages will fit on there and stops. If you can put more packages on, that means more stops. So, okay. Yeah, the early numbers. So we were right on what we were looking for our data. Okay, for an individual pursuing a P&D, should we pause to see what happens with routes and status of business? Or how do we negotiate with such a massive question of instability from what you explained with territory changes and consolidation possibilities that may change status for current owners? Also, any ETA when this info gets announced as to territory changes for any CSP. You want that one, Jeff? Or I can take it. It's up to you.
Well, here, so you're probably going to find out within the next couple weeks how some of these things are going to start moving. Right now, this says for an individual perusing P&D, should we pause to see what happens on routes? So what's happened is in some situations, not all of them, in some situations, a current contractor would go to the terminal and say, hey, I'd like to sell my area or sell my business. Can I assign the rights and the obligations of my operating agreement to a new person? Usually when that happens, FedEx has to, they'll respond. In some cases here recently, looks like they're telling them to just wait. Not yet. Don't do it yet. And the reason they're saying that is because those CSAs are going to be affected somehow, some way. So, in some situations, if the current contractor goes to the terminal and asks them, can I sell my business? And if they say, sure, that's fine with us, that probably means that CSA is not going to be affected and you're good. You can continue with the trying to buy something. In the case where they say, just wait, there you go, then you have to wait, right? Is that what you're gonna say, Ken?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is if there is a change to the CSA, FedEx, for the most part, will make the contract equitable. And if there's a change prior to you buying it and you use our services, we can tell you if that's an equitable contract or not. I can tell you many people have used our services that went to Build-A-Biz, and they said they were offered something in a terminal, and we were able to show them how many stops per dispatch that they were going to have to do to make that a viable business for them. And some of them accepted them, some of them walked away. I've always said drug dealers give stuff away for free, simply because and FedEx has some bad contracts out there. They have lots of good ones. And, if you get into an operation and something changes and you know your costs and you know your revenue, it gives you a lot of ability to negotiate the new contract. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest frustration when FedEx and a CSP can't come to an agreement is, well, FedEx will kind of say, well, what do you need to do this? And the CSP might not know because they don't know what their cost per dispatch is. So therefore, if you don't know your cost per dispatch, how can you dictate to FedEx what your need is on revenue per dispatch? So, but if there are changes, you can work with FedEx to hopefully get that right. I wouldn't put stuff on hold, especially like Jeff said, if the terminal's saying, hey, sell it, and you've got a buyer and they've gone through the AIM interview process, we're good.
That could be a big opportunity right now, because if other folks look away or hesitate for some reason, that might open up some opportunities as well.
Okay, excellent. I like this next question. How are the results being posted in Spotlight helping you all analyze your business better? I think there's some great information in there, no doubt about it, because it does have your revenue per dispatch in there. It does have your volume levels and kind of by day of the week. My problem with it is it's a month late. So it can give you some data, but it's not going to help you change your operations on a daily basis. And that's why I really think we have extremely valuable software, because we're going to give you your volume numbers daily. We're going to give you your revenue numbers daily, and you're going to be able to make changes with planned revenue per dispatch, planned stops per dispatch for the next day. That affects your bank account. A week later, doesn't affect your bank account. A month later, doesn't affect your bank account. What affects my bank account is I know my revenue today. I knew my revenue per dispatch today, and we didn't hit our goal. You know what I better do tomorrow? I better be a lot more aggressive to increase my revenue per dispatch, because I got some making up to do. I got a negative balance in my bank account. So, and I got to get that positive tomorrow. So, definitely useful numbers that are in there, and historical information is good. We also store that historical information as well. I can tell you we have found some inaccuracies with Spotlight on the number of dispatches that they were charging a contractor for. They were actually underreporting the contractors because dispatches, because they were not counting rentals. So lo and behold, FedEx thinks you have 2 less dispatches in a week or 5 less dispatches in a week. They think they're paying you more per dispatch than you're actually getting. So I think that's a problem. Okay, so know your numbers, know them nightly, know them daily, know them at 10:30 in the morning. Okay, all that's available in eTruckBiz. Our terminal has been saying that they have heard nothing at all regarding integration for us. What is the typical lead time for terminals as to when Express is coming? You want that one, Jeff?
Well, there's a couple things here, of course. When they finally get to the point where they're going to affect your CSA, if that's what happens, I think it's 60 days. Is Is that what they're doing, Ken?
Yeah, I think any 60 days to 3 months, 60 to 90 days, it seems to be.
Now, the other part of this though is it's coming. You're gonna know pretty darn soon, but they don't want to upset the apple cart too much. Right? So they're not going to go out there and say, yeah, in 2 years, this is going to happen. No, they're not going to do that.
Because
So
that does affect the livelihood of other individuals in other facilities, be it ground or express. So that's why the NDAs come into play, and they just cannot release information too soon. But once you know, you'll sign the NDA and you won't be able to talk about it for 60 days, and then okay, then you can talk about it. And like I said, because it's affecting the livelihood of other drivers, other contractors. So, but we have noticed they give enough lead time unless it's an emergency situation. And I've had emergency situations where the express drivers have walked out, and where'd that business have to go? Oh, it had to go onto the express contractors immediately. So it could happen that way, but it's few and far in between. What is it, about 1 out of the 60 existing terminals that happened, Jeff?
yeah,
Okay, something in that range. All right, that appears to be all the questions. We've had some great questions today. And every week it seems like something pops up. FedEx is kind of changing the direction constantly. UPS changes their directions, and we hope that you continue to come back and gather information here. So hopefully you see us as a valuable source of information for this. Jeff, anything to add?
no, just again, the negotiation thing is a bigger deal than you think. If you're sitting here right now saying, well, it still doesn't matter. They didn't, no, it does. It makes a big difference.
As Carrie said, and I think she would reiterate, knowing your historical information, knowing what their offers are, breaking down, because that information in PCAT, it's certainly not organized as neatly as the example that Jeff has here. So it makes a big difference, and that's why we highly encourage you to utilize our services. FedEx doesn't call Carrie the negotiations lady for nothing. That means she's earned their respect, and as I say, she's earned that respect. So utilize the resource. It looks like we got another in chat.
Reminder.
A reminder. Thank you. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Again, we'll be back here next Tuesday. So we appreciate your support and we appreciate you coming. And until next Tuesday, please have a safe and profitable week. Thank you very much.